Okay, hello. Hi there, welcome. My name's Sraddhagita, and welcome if you're tuning in to this live stream yoga for the first time, and welcome if you've been tuning in for a while or even during the whole time that we've been doing these, which is now a few months. So, yeah, you're very welcome. And I'm here at the London Buddhist Centre in Bethnal Green, and I'm here with Polly, who's my tech support today. So thanks to Polly. So do say hi in the chat box. You can say where you're from. Always, it's nice to know. And yeah, we've still got a few minutes, so you've got time to find your yoga mats, cushions. If you've got any of these blocks, then they're usually quite helpful. So do grab one or two of those. And today, I'm going to be sort of focusing the class on, well, it's called From Loneliness to Connection. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit as a theme in our yoga practice. And actually this week I've been teaching the regulars meditations in the morning sessions. In case you don't know, we offer newcomers and regulars meditation in the morning now. The newcomers one is from 8:15 till 9 o'clock. And you can join that via Zoom. So do check on our website if you want to learn to meditate. That's a good way of learning. Or if you are a regular meditator and you want to meditate with other people, then the regulars is a really good way of doing that. And this week I've been leading those, and I've been doing it around the Metta Bhavana, which is the practice of loving kindness. So in a way, you could say, yeah, we've been focusing on moving from loneliness to connection, because you can definitely do that through the Metta Bhavana. Any hellos?
Yeah, Julia.
Hello, Julia. John from round the corner. Yeah, hi, John. I know a few other people who are tuning in, so hello to them. They might not say anything in the chat box, but they said to me that they're going to be here. So hello, welcome. How many people have we got?
9.
Got 9 people. Okay, great. Well, there's room for more, so keep arriving at the door. If you aren't quite ready yet, then there's still time. You can leave it till the last minute with virtual classes. And you can join in a few minutes late, and that's fine. So, yeah.
Oh, Richard says
Hi there, Richard. Nice to see you. Also from round the corner. Great. So most people today, it sounds like, are close by, but we might have people tuning in from around the world, so different time zones. Yeah.
Shay says hello.
Hello, Shay. Nice to see you. So while we're here as well, I'm just going to mention, and I'll mention it again at the end, there is going to be a yoga and meditation intensive next week on Zoom, which Gaurav Ravati and Dan Uttar are leading. So if you want to do more yoga and combine it with meditation, then there's going to be 2 sessions each day. So you could think about that if you want to do a bit more. So the morning session will be 7:30 till 9 o'clock. And the other session will be early evening, 5 till 6:30. So even if you're working at home, it might be something that you can do, and it's a chance to take yoga and meditation a bit deeper. So do have a think about that. You need to book, and it is, it is a course where we're asking for a particular payment. So yeah, you can check that out. Perhaps Polly could put the link. They already have in the box. That's great. Yeah. So there'll be room for lots of people to join. And you'll definitely get a sense of progression in your practice. And also you'll be doing yoga and meditation for 3 hours every day, which will be beneficial.
Jen from East London says her friend Charlotte is here as well in Oz, and they're doing it on Zoom together.
Oh, that's great. So Charlotte from East London and her friend in Oz. So I'm wondering what time it is in Oz. Yeah, well, I had someone tuning in with the meditation from Australia this morning, and I think it was evening. So I'm guessing it must be very early morning. So your friends probably had to get up really, really early. So that's good. Great, that's nice to know. Okay, so we're going to make a start. So welcome again. My name's Sraddhagita, and I'm here at the London Buddhist Centre in Bethnal Green. And it's really lovely to see you all and to know that you're tuning in from near and far, from East London to Australia, and all sorts of places in between, I'm sure. So today's class is, we've got titles for our classes now so that you can re-find them, which is good. So this is called From Loneliness to Connection. Okay, so I thought I'd just start by saying a little bit, and then we'll do a little sort of centering to start as well. So I guess, at the moment, probably for a lot of us, we are practicing yoga on our own yoga mat, without other people around us. And if we're used to going to classes, it can sometimes feel quite lonely, and, a bit hard work. And maybe, we don't stay with it for as long as if we go to a class. And that's really good to just sort of notice all of that, without sort of telling yourself off or giving yourself a hard time. Sometimes, like with any practice, it is hard to stay with it. And I think by tuning into a class like this, you're already making a move from practicing on your own and potentially perhaps struggling or feeling lonely into connection. So, well done for doing that. And, it sounds like people are being really creative, like two friends joining in with the yoga from different countries. I mean, that's really creative, isn't it? How to keep a connection going with each other in a time when, it's not so easy. So I think the main thing that we need to think about when we are trying to feel more connected is, first of all, we really need to feel more connected with ourselves. Sometimes I think we have a longing for, or we talk about having a longing for more intimacy with others and more connection with others. But what we often haven't got in that moment or those times is a real intimacy and connection with ourselves. So I think that's where we really have to start, because that sense of connection and intimacy that we have with ourselves is where we can then start to move out from. If we don't have that connection, then it's very with ourselves, and it's very hard to move out to a connection with other people. So that's the first sort of starting point, really, is to feel connected with ourselves. So that does mean turning towards ourselves and our experience with a kindly awareness, with an interest, a sensitivity, a friendliness, a curiosity, an openness, which isn't always easy to do. But, even just that sort of intention to do that is a good start and a good place to begin that exploration. And then, from there, we hopefully can start to sort of open out a bit and feel a bit more connected with people around us. And at the moment, I think we really need to use our imagination to do that, have a sense of other people practicing yoga with us in this class. I'm practicing here in Bethnal Green on my yoga mat. Someone else is practicing down the road on their yoga mat. Someone else is practicing in Australia on their yoga mat. So we can actually create these connections in our mind, in our heart, in our imagination, and that can help us to feel more connected. The other, and also feel part of a community of people practicing. And the other thing that we can do through yoga is, because we're actually moving our bodies, we can start to really put a bit more awareness onto the connection that we feel with the ground, with our actual direct experience. So the connection we feel with our senses as we're practicing, the connection we feel, and that includes the sixth sense of the mind and our thoughts. Just the connection we feel with the shapes we're doing, the shapes we're creating, trying to really embody those shapes. That can be a way of connecting with ourselves and just allowing ourselves to become absorbed in the yoga practice. So those are just a few things that we can do. And I thought I'd read us something as well, part of a poem by Mary Oliver. But let's just sit and start to just connect with ourselves first, and then I'll read this section of this poem, which is called Sunrise. But yeah, just first of all, connecting with our body and our breath, feeling our points of contact with the ground, the earth, and also feeling our yoga mat beneath us. And although our yoga mat might feel a bit like a little island in our house, it's actually connected up with all these other islands of yoga mats in other places near us and much further away. So see if you can get a sense of that, those threads of connection. This morning, climbing the familiar hills in the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe. And I thought how the sun blazes for everyone, just so joyfully as it rises under the lashes of my own eyes. And I thought, I am so many. So I'll read that again at the end, but you can slowly now start to open the eyes. And we're going to start with a few quiet poses, a few more reflective poses to really help us keep this connection with ourselves. So you might want to sit on one block rather than two, or no block. You might not need a block, and just bring the soles of the feet together. And you can bring the heels quite far away from the buttocks if you want to, or you can bring them a bit closer into the groin. If your knees are quite high up, you might want a bit of support, or you might want to bring the feet away a little bit. So feeling that connection of the soles of your feet with each other, really feeling the connection of the toes, the balls of the feet, the heels. And maybe sitting up nice and tall to begin with, feeling your weight dropping down through the sitting bones and the back sort of lifting up out of the hips. And then after a little while, you might want to bring the fingertips onto the ground, feel that connection. And then you might walk a bit further, bringing the chest forward a little bit. Try and have this sense of a long back so that the back is lengthening out of the hips. And you're just edging your fingers forward. And then you might even bring the whole hand down to the ground and notice that connection. And then just take a few breaths here, breathing with yourself. And there's a kind of intimacy with just being with ourselves, breathing in a very simple way. Just noticing how we feel right now. Notice our thoughts. And try and just notice without getting caught up. We might notice now some sensations in the inner thighs and groin. I can start to notice those. So just bring some awareness there. You might find you can move the fingers a little bit more forward, and you might even bring the elbows onto the shins, or you may have your hands much further forward than me. And just listen here to your breath and your body. Give the body time to respond. And give yourself time to connect with yourself in this moment. And then you could also broaden out to just have a sense of each of us doing this pose, even though we can't see each other. And that can help in terms of just having a sense of everyone in our mind's eye doing the same pose. So here I can imagine you're all in front of me, sitting in this pose. And you can do the same. And then we're going to slowly walk the hands back, bring the knees together, maybe come off our support if we're on some. And then we're just going to bring the feet about hip width apart and then just let the knees drop from side to side. So a kind of windscreen wiping action. And that's quite nice for the inner thighs after that stretch. Great. And then walking the feet round so that we're still sitting on our mat, but we've got the long mat, the long side of the mat in front of us. And then we're just going to lift the hips up a few times. So, excuse me, you might want to bring your hands out to the side like this, feet about hip width apart. And then as you inhale, just slowly lift up, pressing your weight into the feet, maybe lifting a bit higher. You can keep the head and neck fairly free for now. Tuck the chin in a little bit. And then release. Do this about 3 times. So lifting up again, perhaps a bit higher. You might bring the head back now. You might even look back if that was comfortable on the neck, but it might be too much. So don't worry if that's not available to you. And then release on the exhale. Last one. So pressing the feet into the ground and lifting up. And then slowly releasing down again. And then we're going to come into Navasana or boat pose. So we're going to lift the feet up, bring the feet together, knees together. Might hold our hands first of all behind the thighs. So we're balancing on our sitting bones. And then you might lengthen the arms alongside your legs like so. Well done. Breathing here, so gentle engagement through the abdominals. And then you might want to try straightening your legs. Great. Active in your toes. And then you might bend the knees again. And you're probably going to really feel that in the thighs. So just notice that sensation. And then bring the feet down. And then we're just going to roll back onto the ground for a moment. Bring the knees together and just feel those 3 poses, how they've impacted the body. Feel the thighs, the inner thighs, the groin area. And then we're going to bring our legs up and see if we can bend the knees and just widen the legs away from each other into the happy baby pose. And then bring your hands somewhere on your shins. And it might be that they just stay on the shin like this, or you might be able to easily reach your toes But only reach the toes if it doesn't compromise your shoulders. You don't want the shoulders and your head to be pulled up like this. You want to keep the shoulders melting down. So I'm just going to hold my shins today and my ankles. But, you know, feel free if you've got long arms and it's easy to get your toes to do that, or just keep like this. And then you might just want to rock a little bit from side to side. And again, you'll have this sense of the hip starting to open, the inner thighs. Hopefully you'll also feel this sense of openness through the belly. And see if you can smile as you do this pose. It can be quite a hard pose sometimes. And you might want to be still for a moment, just breathing and giving the body time to open a little bit more. 2 more breaths. And being with yourself in this pose, breathing with your experience. And then releasing, bringing the knees together, and then bringing them apart, together, apart, drawing circles, and then drawing some circles the other way. Great, so you're probably starting to feel much more of a connection with your body now, particularly the hips and inner thighs. So then we're going to roll over and come up onto all fours. And we're going to start to make a connection, more of a connection with our back. So bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, hands and wrists, knees underneath the hips. And just see if you can bring the awareness into the back of the body. Also have a sense of the tops of the feet in connection with your mat. And see if you can just be in the back of the body and maybe just sway a little bit from side to side, forwards and back. And then on the next inhale, see if you can lift the chest, lift the sitting bones. And then as you exhale, let the head and tail drop, rounding the spine. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, rounding. So feeling that stretch in the front body. And then that stretch in the back body. So feel the body bending backwards and feel it bending forwards. And have a sense of the spine mobilizing, not just the bone of the spine, but also the tissue, the fluids of the spine. Couple more of these. Great. And then back to neutral. And then we're going to walk our knees back a little bit and we're going to come into a simple flowing movement. So just sitting on our heels for a moment. And this flowing movement is quite simple. So it can just help us to feel connected with our mat because we're sort of sliding across down the mat and then we come back. And it can also help us just to feel connected with ourselves. So we start with our buttocks on our heels and then we let the hands come down, slide along the mat, lifting the buttocks off the heels, bringing the chest forward, lowering ourselves down, scooping through and up, lift the chest and then come back down and then lift up, press up, bring the buttocks towards the heels again, slide the hands along the mat all the way to behind our bottom and then lift the hips into a back bend. So we're going to do a few of those. So just sliding the hands forward, feeling that connection. Keep that thread of connection with yourself as you do this, lifting back. And then sliding forward again, bringing the chest forward, lowering the body. Coming up. Exhale down. Pressing into the mat. Drawing the hands back towards your hips and then lifting the hips up. And if you can, letting the head come back, but you can also have the chin tucked. So a couple more of these in your own rhythm. Last one. Great, and then lowering the buttocks back to the heels, widening the knees for a moment. And then just letting the hands and the arms come forward, letting your head rest in child's pose. And again, connect with yourself and the fact that we're doing yoga together. And then bring the hands forward again, walk your knees forward a little bit, and we'll come into a downward dog. So tucking the toes, drawing the hips back, and then lifting up through the sitting bones. You could come onto the balls of the feet and straighten the legs and then move back and bend the knees. So just bouncing a little bit, bringing a bit of fluidity into this pose. You can also pedal out the feet and legs alternately so that you lengthen through the hamstrings. And then again, we're going to bring the knees down, lower the chest, scoop through, come into a cobra, this time spider fingers, lifting the chest up and then release. And then back into downward dog. And we're going to lift our right foot up behind us, holding it there for a moment, and then draw the knee in towards the chest. So let's do that 3 times, lifting the right foot up, 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 and then bringing it towards the chest. Last one, lifting the right foot up, left foot strong towards the chest, right foot and knee, and then step that foot forward towards the right hand, drop the back heel and windmill the arms up into a warrior 2. So it's almost as if your arms are radiating from your heart. Look along that front finger. Feel the feet, feel the ground beneath you. Draw up energy from the earth, connection from the earth. And breathe here. And then we're going to move our arms a little bit. So on the inhale, straighten the front leg, bring the hands to touch. Exhale back into warrior 2. Inhale, straighten the front leg, hands to touch. Exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. Great. And then turning the front hand, palm upwards, come into side angle pose. So elbow just above the knee, turn the chest a little bit, bring that arm. Sometimes it's nice to, for a change, bring the arm forward and round and then alongside the ear. And then see if you can turn to look under that armpit, or you can keep the gaze forward if that's easier. And feel the connection again with the ground, with your arm resting on your thigh. And it might be that you can easily bring the hand down in front of you and that doesn't compromise this upper arm. So if that's the case, then do that. For me, I'm going to keep my arm on my thigh for now. And just breathe here. One more breath. And then slowly bring the hands on either side of that right leg and then step back. And again, walk out the legs. And then we're going to come this time into a plank, or if you want to, you can carry on doing knees, chest and chin. If you want to come into a plank, roll forward, chest above the mat, near the hands, and then bend the elbows, come down, up dog, so you're on the tops of your feet. And you might look over the right shoulder, back to center, left shoulder, back to center, and then back to downward dog. And again, feeling this connection with yourself, with your yoga mat, the ground, the earth beneath you. And then from that connection, having a sense of your awareness spreading outwards to include a connection with others. And then lifting the left leg up behind you as you exhale, knee to the chest. 2 more times, lifting up, knee to chest. Last one, knee to chest. And then stepping that left foot towards the left hand, dropping the right heel and windmilling the arms up. And coming into warrior two. So letting the fingers spread out and then looking along that middle front hand, the middle of the front hand, the middle finger. Bending the front knee and letting the knee move more towards the outer foot rather than the inner direction. Spreading the toes. And then on the next inhale, we're going to lift the hands to touch, straighten the front leg, and then exhale back into warrior two. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale, hands to touch, feeling that connection. Exhale, warrior two. Great, and then turn the front hand, bring the arm, elbow onto the thigh, and then bring that back arm around alongside the ear and turning the chest a bit. Keeping the back leg strong, outer edge of the foot working. You might bring this front hand down and still be able to keep that arm alongside your ear. But if that feels a bit too hard or you're struggling to breathe, then just bring the arm back again. One more breath. Great. And then hands down, step back into the downward dog. And again, walk out the legs a little bit or bounce. Just find a way for yourself to move in the pose. Another nice way of moving is to lift the heels and then let them move to the left. And then swivel, lift the heels and let them move to the right. You can do that a few times. So we're sort of turning our legs, rolling the legs and feet a bit. And then come forward again into a plank, lower ourselves, come into up dog. We might sway a little bit from side to side. And again, look over the right shoulder for a moment, back to center. And then look over the left shoulder, back to center. And then come back into downward dog. Great, and keep breathing. Keep softening into the pose. And then again, lift the right leg up and bring it forward between your hands, and near the right hand, drop the left heel. And again, windmill the arms up. Great, and this time we're going to come into Trikonasana, so keep that front leg straight. Turn the back hip around a little bit, lengthen the arms, and then reach over with that right arm, hand on shin, or again, you could come a bit lower if that doesn't compromise the pose, and then lift the left arm and turn the chest. Great. And then bring that hand down. Going to lightly do a little hop and a step and come into the half moon pose. So lift the back leg, lift the left leg. Come onto your fingertips. Find your balance, find your connection with yourself here, or standing on one leg and resting on one arm. And then see if you can turn the chest. Lift the other arm up. So it's like the back foot is reaching back, legs reaching back, it's reaching out, and the arm is reaching up. And then lightly step back into Trikonasana. Great. And then bend the front knee again, hands down, step back into downward dog. And again, we can lift the heels, let them come to the side and then the other side a few times. And then come back into plank, chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. And then again, lift the left leg and step forward. Back heel comes down, straighten the front leg. Might need to slightly narrow the stance for Trikonasana. Lifting the arms and then reaching and bringing the hand onto the shin. Right arm comes up, turn the chest. Breathing. And then bringing that right arm down, bending the front knee and lightly just doing a little hop forward, coming into half moon. First of all, establishing that connection with being on one foot and the fingertips of one hand. You might need a block under your hand or fingers. Find your balance and then start to turn the chest towards the right. That right leg stretching back, sole of the foot back. And then turn the chest, lift the back arm. Relaxed face, the jaw. One more breath. If you're struggling in this pose, see if you can soften a little bit. And then bend the front knee, lightly step back. Straighten the front leg, come back into Trikonasana. Great. And then bend the front knee again, hands down. Step back into downward dog. And then we're going to walk our feet forward and just let the body hang and release a little bit like a waterfall. The hair, the arms can be releasing down, the head can be heavy. We could have our legs fairly straight, or we can have a little micro bend, or we can bend more deeply. We might have our hands on the floor, or we might catch the elbows. We're just really letting ourselves just release down, back, the head. And again, feeling that connection with ourselves, with each other. And then let's bring our arms, the elbows onto the thighs. And then we're going to slowly press the feet into the ground and slowly come up from there. And sometimes when we've been upside down, we might feel a bit lightheaded. So just take a moment when you get back up to a straight standing position. just feel that. And take a moment. Just feel yourself in Tadasana, mountain pose. And then turn the feet out a little bit, and we're going to come into Malasana or garland pose. So you might need the feet quite wide. You might need your blocks behind your heels for this. So bending the knees and letting the knees move outwards and bring the bottom down to the ground. Weight in the feet, heels, toes. You could bring the hands together, elbows in front of the knees, and kind of squeeze the elbows and the knees together. And you'll feel that sense of contact. So really feel that contact, that connection. See if you can lift the chest. Feel the sensations in the inner thighs and groin. Sensations in the outer hip. There might be sensations in the ankle, particularly it's a bit tight here. And it might just be tight structurally because of bones, not because you're not flexible. We all have different bone structures, and some of them make some poses difficult. So it's just good to know that. And then slowly release, let the bottom come down to the ground. Bring the feet onto the ground again. And just for a moment, we're going to come back into Navasana or boat pose. So coming on again to our sitting bones, lifting the feet, lifting the lower legs, bending the knees, bringing the arms alongside the legs. And then if you want to, have a go at straightening the legs. Active in the feet and the toes, open chest. One more breath. And bend the knees again. And then bring the feet down and sit up. Great. And then slowly, we're going to try and move back really, really slowly so that we really feel this connection with ourselves and the back and the breath. So feet about hip width apart, hands, arms up, and then slowly coming down. So it's like we're just releasing really slowly, and the back is going to come down onto the ground, a bit like a pearl necklace. So vertebrae by vertebrae, bone by bone, really, really slow. And sometimes when we get a bit of the back down, it's really hard to go slowly still. So going to have to really engage the abs here and keep going, and then slowly, slowly release. Slowly feeling all those bones coming down in the head. And then just place the hands on the belly for a moment. And again, just feeling connection with yourself, your breath, your body. And in your mind's eye again, having a sense of the people practicing with you right now. And then let the feet widen, as wide as the mat, and let the knees drop from side to side, so you come into a moving twist. And the head can go in the opposite direction to the knees. And just doing that a few times. And then bring the knees towards the chest, give them a little hug. You can just rock a bit from side to side. And then we're going to come into a twist. So there's different ways you can do a twist. You can either have the legs stacked up like this, or you might want to see if you can wrap one thigh around the other. You might even catch the toes of one foot around the shin of another foot. That's another option. Draw the knees towards the chest, and you might bring the feet down and just let the legs move towards the left. And if you can, the gaze towards the right. But the knees probably won't come down onto the ground. You could have a bit of support here. You want to keep that lower back fairly stable if you can. Just breathe here. Again, feeling the connection this time, the legs wrapped around each other, yourself, your upper body in connection with the ground, your arms in connection with the ground, the back of your head. And then slowly come back to center, unravel the legs, and see if you can wrap them the other way around. So this time, left leg wraps around right, and then we're going to twist to the other side. So perhaps bring the toes down onto the ground as you move the knees towards the right, gaze towards the left. Breathing here. And then slowly back to center, unraveling the legs. And we're going to move into Shavasana. So just setting yourself, just checking that you're in line with yourself and sitting, lying not at an angle. So if you can, widen the feet and let the toes drop away from each other. Let yourself rest on the ground now, on your mat. And again, feel the body, feel the breath. If the mind is very active or busy, just really rest more of the awareness in the body and with what you can experience directly through your senses. So what you feel on your body, you could even open up to the sounds around you, coming and going, without needing to label them. And then you could almost imagine that you're kind of unplugging yourself from even that, and you're just lying here without trying to be aware of anything in particular. Just notice anything that comes and goes. So not trying to be aware of something or not trying to be aware of it. Just that open space. And then again, just slowly starting to bring a bit of movement into the fingers and toes. Unless you've got a little bit more time and you could lie here for a bit longer, then please feel free to do that. You'd be very welcome to do that if you're able to. But if you do need to start to move and stick with the 45-minute-ish time frame, then just start to stretch a little bit. Maybe bring the arms over the head and perhaps move a little bit from side to side. Bring the knees into the chest again. You could roll over onto your side, either cradling the head in your arm or just let the head rest on the ground. Knees towards the chest. And slowly bringing yourself up from there. And you might want to get your blocks again or something to sit on if you haven't already. We'll just finish the class as we began with a short centering, and I'll read this extract from Mary Oliver's poem Sunrise. So just notice how you feel now at the end of the practice. If you do feel more connected with yourself, the world around you, and the people around you, people practicing with you. And maybe you just feel a little bit more connected. And that's fine. Often these movements from loneliness to connection, or from connection to more connection, are quite small. So we don't make huge leaps so often. We often take small steps in those directions that we want to go in. So just remembering that. So we've taken a step from loneliness to more connection. And then we can take another step. This morning, climbing the familiar hills, in the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe. And I thought how the sun blazes for everyone, just so joyfully as it rises under the lashes of my own eyes. And I thought, I am so many. And then slowly drawing the practice to an end. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. And as you do that, letting your gaze be soft, taking in the room you're in, the shapes, light, shadow. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you do feel more connected. Thank you to Polly for the tech support. It's very connecting to have somebody doing the tech support and to have someone here in the room. So I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you joining me today, because that helps both me and all of us, hopefully, to feel a bit more connected. So as you know, if you've been tuning in, we're offering all these classes free, and for you to partake in if you'd like to and if you want to. And lots of you are taking that up, and it's great, really great that we're building up this yoga community. We also have at the centre a culture of generosity, and we really invite you to join in with that if you're able to, and if you're in a position to and you'd like to. So if you would like to and you're able to give, you could give a donation, which would really help us keep these classes going, keep giving these classes, keep offering these classes, so that more and more people can access this sense of connection in a time when, probably for some people there is a real struggle to feel connected. So yeah, if you feel moved to, please do give a donation, a one-off or a monthly one. All are really, really welcome and appreciated. So until next time, I wish you well and hope you have a good rest of the day. Thanks again for joining me.